98% will scroll past this and go back to sleep. But if you've made it this far, you're part of the 2% who know something is off. Not just in the world, but within yourself. Like you were born seeing behind the curtain. Like reality doesn't sit right with your spirit. You've always felt it, haven't you? Like there's a deeper truth no one's talking about, and you were sent here to find it. This message isn't for the masses. This is for the ones who don't fit in because they were never supposed to. The ones who were chosen. Since you were young, something about you stood out. Not in ways people celebrated, in ways they couldn't understand. While other kids blended in, you were the quiet one, the observer. You could feel energy before words were spoken. You noticed things others overlooked. You saw lies behind smiles. You saw sadness behind strength. It made you feel older than your age, like you were carrying wisdom from a place you couldn't explain. And it's no coincidence. You're part of the 2% who weren't meant to follow the herd. You came into this life carrying an ancient mission. That's why normal never felt normal to you. That's why you've questioned everything. Your family, your faith, the systems, even your own mind at times. The 98% don't ask those questions. They accept what they're told. But you dig, you see past the illusion. And that makes you dangerous to the agenda of this world. You were built to be a disruptor. But here's the twist. They tried to silence you before you even knew what you were. You were emotionally targeted, spiritually attacked, rejected by people you loved. It wasn't random. It was spiritual. Because even if you didn't know your power yet, they did. That energy you carry, it speaks even when you're silent. It makes people uncomfortable, not because you're wrong, but because you're real. The 98% live behind masks. They need comfort. You were born for the fire. Have you noticed how your life has never been easy? How you've had to fight battles in silence, break generational patterns alone, heal wounds no one saw, and rise without applause. That's not punishment. That's preparation. The universe doesn't put average souls through chosen ones training. You were molded in the dark, not to break, but to awaken. You were stripped of people, places, and patterns that didn't serve your purpose. Because the truth is, what you're called to do can't be done with dead weight attached. This is why you feel so disconnected from others. You're not meant to relate to the 98%. You're meant to reach them, to help them wake up. But to do that, you had to wake up first. That's why your path has been so painful, so lonely, so misunderstood. Because you weren't just being taught, you were being transformed. Every betrayal built your discernment. Every delay built your patience. Every storm trained your spirit. The 98% will never understand this, because they weren't meant to. They're still plugged into the illusion, still chasing validation, still avoiding the shadow, but not you. You've stared into your own darkness and refused to run. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you rare. Chosen ones don't chase comfort. They chase truth. And truth will always isolate you first, then elevate you later. You were never meant to be liked by everyone. That's why the crowd rejected you. That's why fake friends ghosted you. That's why lovers couldn't handle your depth. You carry the kind of light that exposes people's shadows. You weren't just a mirror. You were a wake-up call. And people don't like being woken up. But that's what the 2% are here for. You didn't come to this earth to fit in. You came to shift it. The truth is, this world is spiritually upside down. The wicked are praised. The righteous are mocked. And the ones who dare to speak up are silenced. But deep down, the 2% can feel the shift. You've been sensing it. The dreams have been clearer. The signs have been louder. The urge to separate yourself from the crowd has been stronger. That's not anxiety. That's activation. You're being pulled into alignment because something big is coming. You've always known you were here for a reason, even when you couldn't explain it, even when you doubted yourself, even when life tried to bury you. Your spirit kept whispering, "There's more. Keep going." And here you are, listening to this message, nodding your head, because your soul knows it's true. The time for sleeping is over. The veil is lifting. The chosen ones are awakening. And the world will never be the same. But don't expect applause. Don't expect recognition. Because the work you do, most will never understand it. Healing ancestral wounds, breaking generational curses, raising your vibration. This is the silent revolution. The 2% don't fight with swords. They fight with frequency, with truth, with love so deep it terrifies those who've only known survival. And that's why they fear you. Not because you're loud, but because you're real. Not because you seek power, but because you carry it. Not because you force truth, but because you are it. You are what this world is desperately trying to suppress. But suppression never wins forever. Eventually, the truth always rises, and with it, the ones bold enough to carry it. So if you've made it this far, understand this. You're not crazy. You're not broken. You're chosen. And the reason your journey has felt so heavy is because your calling is massive. You were born to break the matrix, not blend into it. To heal, not just cope. To lead, not just follow. To awaken a world that has forgotten who they are. And it starts with remembering who you are. You were never meant to forget who you are, but this world was built to make sure you did. From birth, distractions were placed all around you. False beliefs, trauma, labels, systems designed to make you doubt your power, to make you chase things that never mattered, to make you numb yourself just to survive. But still, the truth flickered inside you like a stubborn flame. Even when life tried to extinguish it, something deeper inside refused to die. That something is your divine spark. The 98% will say you're too sensitive, too intense, too much. But the 2% understand. Sensitivity is a spiritual gift. It's how you read rooms before you enter them. It's why you feel energy others can't. It's how you know someone's lying even when their words sound perfect. That sensitivity isn't weakness. It's your radar, your weapon, your protection. And it's the very thing they try to convince you to shut down. But the 2% are waking up. And now, everything's shifting. You're seeing through illusions faster. You're no longer resonating with people who drain you. You're feeling a pull to isolate, to detox from the noise, to find your center again. That's not depression. That's elevation. Your spirit is rising above the frequency of the world. And the higher you rise, the clearer things become. What once held you doesn't hold you anymore. What once controlled you has no power anymore, because you're remembering who you are, and that scares them. You've always had something they couldn't name. A presence, a vibration, a knowing. It's what made people drawn to you, then turn against you. It's what made fake friends smile to your face, but envy you behind your back. It's what made lovers obsessed, then suddenly cold. It's not your looks. It's not your words. It's your spirit. It speaks too loudly. It reflects too honestly. It shines too brightly. You don't even have to try. Your energy does the talking. And to those still asleep, your very existence is a threat. You trigger people not because you're wrong, but because you're right. You see what they're trying to ignore. You speak what they're too afraid to admit. You embody a truth they've spent their lives running from. And in a world built on lies, someone who carries truth is dangerous. That's why you've been isolated. That's why you've been underestimated. Because if you ever fully stepped into your power, you'd change everything. And guess what? That time is now. This is the era of revelation, of spiritual warfare, of awakening. And chosen ones, the 2%, were born for this. That's why the pressure in your life has increased. That's why the tests have intensified. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. You're being pulled away from the 98% for a reason. Because what's coming next, only the 2% will be ready for it. The lies are crumbling. The veils are lifting. The earth is shifting, and truth can't be ignored much longer. Those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, you've been feeling it. The urgency, the call, the responsibility. You're not just here to survive anymore. You're here to activate. That means you're going to lose more people. That means you'll be misunderstood more often. But it also means you'll find your soul family, the other 2%, the ones who speak your language without words, the ones who understand your silence, the ones who make you feel seen for the first time in forever. They're coming. You're not meant to walk this path alone, but you had to walk the first part alone to prove you could carry the light without dropping it. And now, you're ready. No more shrinking. No more dimming your light. No more watering yourself down to make others comfortable. The time for small talk is over. The time for distractions is done. The mission is active, and the chosen are being called to the front lines, not with weapons, but with wisdom, with healing, with spiritual authority. You don't need a stage. You are the message. Your very being is shifting atmospheres. Just by walking into a room, you remind others what they've forgotten.